Hello, welcome to the Impact Innovation Group's Bright Ideas Power Your Business webinar. My name is Leanne Wyville, and before I hand over to today's webinar presenter Brian Ruddle, I'll go through some of the tools we'll be using for those people who haven't viewed a webinar with Citrix GoToWebinar system before. Your screen should look something like this: a slide in the centre and a control panel usually on the right hand side. Control panel or dashboard, whatever you'd like to call it. Now if you'd like to keep this open throughout the webinar, just click on the view button here and uncheck auto hide control panel, and that way you'll always have your control panel up on your screen so that you can take part in some of the interactions that we're going to offer, such as the raise your hand. So you'll see this little hand icon on your dashboard there, and there may be times when the presenter will ask you to raise your hand. And when you do that, you just click on the button and we'll know that you've raised your hand as an indication of that you've understood the concept or that you agree with the suggestion that's been made. So just to test that out now, could I please have everyone who's here on the webinar to raise their hand to indicate that they've found that tool? Great. Everybody's got it. That's good. The other interaction tool is type in a question. We will probably answer all the questions at the end, but as those questions occur to you, just type them in the box here and hit send, and we'll keep an eye on that. And you can also use that tool for occasions if there's any problems with the broadcast, if you lose sound or the screen becomes frozen, you can use the questions box here to let us know about that. Also, to let you know that we do have handouts, and I recommend that you download those sometime during the webinar. There's a copy of today's presentation plus some other information from Impact Innovation Group. Best to get that during the webinar. You can even download them now. I'm going to hand over now to Brian Ruddle, Managing Director of Impact Innovation Group. Brian formed the company 9 years ago to serve an unmet need for independent specialist commercialisation services. He has since helped form 4 startup companies based on university technologies, which have raised between 450 and 2 million in seed rounds. He's also negotiated licence agreements with Australian and international companies, assisted small to medium enterprises with developing commercialisation strategies for new products and services, and brought to fruition the Enterprise Access Platform to overcome inherent difficulties in commercialising new technologies and fostering the collaboration to accelerate that process. Brian provides innovation strategy, innovation management and technology commercialisation consulting services across a range of sectors, including mining, education, ICT, agriculture, biotech, materials, medical devices and the service sectors. Brian's qualifications include a diploma from the Australian Institute of Company Directors, a Master's in Economics from the University of New England, a Diploma in Export Management from the Australian Institute of Export, and a Bachelor of Applied Science with First Class Honours from the University of Queensland. So very well qualified to be speaking on this topic across a range of sectors, and also because he has worked in a range of companies including Australia, Indonesia, the Philippines, Malaysia, Ethiopia, Zimbabwe. I think there's probably a country there from A to Z. So I'm going to hand over to you now, Brian.
Thank you for that, Leanne. Yes, over the years I've travelled to a few of these different countries. Welcome everyone. Today we'll go through, I'll give you a quick overview of the Impact Innovation Group, but the main focus of today's webinar is on Brightidea, and in particular how companies are using it, or and organisations I should say as well, because a lot of government agencies are using it as well, as a way of managing innovation systems. So starting off though, I see with a few of the people that are attending today that you know a bit about the Impact Innovation Group, so I won't labour the point, but just for those of you who haven't met with us previously, as Leanne outlined, we're a specialist innovation and technology commercialisation company. We focus on 4 main areas. We do innovation management and systems, so we help organisations put in place end-to-end innovation programs, and that's everything from SMEs through to government agencies, through to industry associations, all the way through to multinationals. As part of that, we're the Asia Pacific partner for Brightidea, and we'll cover off on more of that platform later on. We also do a lot of work with technology commercialisation. These are technologies out of government agencies, private sector organisations and research organisations. We do technology scouting, so that's finding technologies for large organisations and multinationals. And then we do a lot of advisory work for early stage companies, interim CEO positions, advisory board positions, and generally helping early stage companies. Another couple of things that we manage which may be of interest is we manage the Innovate Queensland program, which is a range of face-to-face training courses on innovation and technology commercialisation, as well as online programs, webinars on innovation and commercialisation, as well as some collaboration activities as well. And we're also involved in setting up an engineering, construction and mining innovation hub, and the Queensland Government recently agreed to help kick that one along, and that's through the Department of State Development. But let's move into Brightidea itself, just to make this a little bit more interactive, and now that Leanne's sort of taken us through the use of all the tools, can you just put up your hands, those of you who have actually, I suppose, looked at innovation management systems before? If you can just hit the little raise of the hand button just so I get a bit of a feel of where people are at. Got a couple there. Okay. No, that's great. Thank you for that. So this concept of innovation management systems, it's sort of gaining a bit of momentum in Australia now. For a long time, innovation was sort of seen as this serendipitous sort of activity that, you know, just happened by chance. A lot of other groups really just sort of focused on innovation by sort of having an email address where people put forward their ideas, or in some cases SharePoint as well, where people, you know, put forward ideas for how they can help an organisation. Brightidea is actually a custom-built innovation system, and it was developed to actually manage the overall innovation program. So in the presentation today, I'll take you through some slides just to give you a bit of a feel for what Brightidea is about, and then take you through a demo as well. So Brightidea, it's used by some of the largest and probably most innovative companies around the world. You can see a number of them there on that slide, including Cisco and GE and Accenture and the like. You know, getting into the pharma area, you know, there's Novartis and Bayer. What it doesn't list here is there's a lot of government agencies. So the government over in Ireland use it. Government agencies over in the US use it as well as a way of engaging in both internally and also externally on innovation. In terms of how these different groups use it, there's a whole range of different configurations, and this just gives a bit of a feel for some of them. Product development groups use it for new product development. So here's an example of Craft, generally sort of focused on employees. Groups like GE use it for their contests. So GE do a lot of international contests around particular challenges, and they use it for that. Skill, which is part of Bosch, or Bosch I should say, use it for their open innovation platform. So they actually use Brightidea behind their website. So when people are putting forward ideas for new tools, they're actually redirected then to the Brightidea area to be able to enter all of that information. Other groups use it for continuous improvement. Adobe use it for their enhancement requests as a way of actually building the next generation of their software. This is one that I actually really like. It's around the competitive intelligence area, We talk to a lot of groups around their innovation programs, and we often get told by people that, oh yes, we're not into innovation, we're fast followers. And so our general response is, well, what's your strategy? And generally we're met with this blank look. But here's a group that actually does have a fast follower strategy, and they're using Brightidea as a way for their staff to rapidly identify what their competitors are doing, and then they've got the rapid assessment process to work out whether that's something they're wanting to adopt or not. Other groups doing invention disclosures and then customer insights as well. But the key thing is that the platform itself is very configurable. In terms of the process, it's essentially has 3 stages. So there's idea crowdsourcing, so that can be within an organisation, with a particular department or group within an organisation, but then it can also be external to an organisation as well through customers or other stakeholders. So it's got the front end crowdsourcing, then it's got an evaluation process to actually evaluate ideas through a stage gate process, which is highly configurable, and again I'll show you that in a moment. And then it's got a project management type section where you can actually manage the implementation, track outcomes, and basically do a lot of reporting as well. The reason that this platform was set up was mainly because of the dilemma that most innovation teams face within an organisation. Even within some of those very large organisations I mentioned before, their innovation teams are actually quite small, but they have got this huge mandate. So while there's sort of limited capacity in terms of people and other resources, there's this big mandate to change the culture and to develop a culture of innovation within organisations, have this network of innovation champions, and really to drive outcomes. And so the platform was set up to help these small innovation teams achieve this mandate. And the way that that's done is essentially as an innovation as a shared service. So the platform is set up so that it can actually work with different groups. So here, as an example, there might be a campaign sponsor out of marketing. So it allows the innovation team to work with that campaign sponsor to solicit ideas across a whole range of different areas within an organisation, and then to be able to sort of manage the process, both in terms of collecting ideas, assessing ideas, and then managing the outcomes as well. There's a whole range of different ways, as I said earlier, and I just thought I'd drop these up as well, but they've got problem-solving modules, idea management modules, design research modules. They've got innovation labs, hackathons, and also the 20% time approach as well. So they've actually, with a couple of these, so the hackathon and the innovation labs is currently in beta, but a lot of the others are basically open access at the moment for groups that are using the platform. In terms of how it looks, and again I'll show you this in the demo in a moment, it's very Facebook-y in terms of its look and feel. It's very customizable as well. You can change the logos, you can change the the color schemes. The format can be set up so that it has the look and feel that the organisation is wanting to portray, both internally and externally. It's got a range of different ways of collecting information through apps, both iOS and Android apps. And again, I'll demo this in a moment. As said, it's got the a way of managing the pipeline and being able to track that through scorecards and through a range of other assessment tools. And then it's got reporting and dashboards. So what I'll do now is I'll just move out of this part of the presentation, and I'll just get up the web version. And I'll show you this. So this is just our Impact Innovation Group sort of dummy account. But it's got a few examples there. As I said, it's highly configurable. What I'm showing you at the moment is what an admin person gets to see, but I'll just quickly flick to view as an ordinary user down here, just so you get a bit of a sort. The front page is essentially the same. But you'll see the key thing is that the amount of information that users get to see is drastically reduced. So it's down to the home page, the activity, their profile, and then just some general things about how it all works. So generally a user is invited into a particular challenge. We've got a whole range of them listed here. But generally you only have a few of these challenges open at any particular time, and then a user has access to a particular challenge. I'll go through and I'll show you a few of these things. Probably one of the key things there is just with the profile. Each user has their own individual profile. As you can see, I don't have a lot of information here on mine, but it allows a user to actually see where their ideas and where their activities are up to. So you can see that I'm actually being listed on a couple of projects. I'll click on this. I know for a fact don't have any ideas that are put forward, but if I had ideas forward, that'd be listed out there, and there'd be a feel for how, where my ideas are up to. So from an engagement perspective, it's really useful because what it means is that staff members in particular can get to see where their ideas are up to, and essentially, I suppose, gives them that feedback as to what's going on with their ideas. Now, I'm just checking. I'm getting can I just get a hands up? I'm just getting a little message here to say that a connection has been lost. Can I just get a hands up to see whether people are getting access to, whether it's my side or someone else's side? I'm not getting hands up.
Brian, just to let you know that we do have hands up showing, so perhaps it is from your end.
It might be my side. So as long as people can still hear me, I'll keep talking. So hopefully that will reconnect in a moment. Okay. So Leanne, if you can just interrupt at some point if there's a problem and you can't hear me, okay?
Sure.
So that's the beauty of the platform from that user perspective. So we'll just disable that view now just because we want to see this from an admin perspective, particularly when we sort of start looking at the the pipeline management and those various things. We'll eventually get down to disable this view. Yeah, obviously there's my connection from this side. It's very slow. Let me move on to, so in the, on the front page there, on the home page, it actually flagged at one stage that there was a challenge there. It definitely doesn't like me at the moment. We'll see if we can get going. On the front page, there was a More Stevens challenge, which we've been using as a bit of a demo. And what it does is, so this whole platform is very much a challenge-based platform. So the idea is to put a challenge out and solicit ideas around that particular challenge. So this is the challenge that we've got. People can submit ideas, and they can submit ideas in multiple ways, which I'll show you in a moment. But you can see through this that there's voting on those ideas. So this particular idea has got 17 votes. You can have down voting as well if you wish, but that can be enabled or disabled. There's a number of comments there as well. And so this is still part of that whole, if you like, stakeholder engagement program. which allows people to sort of comment ideas, come up with other ideas. Ideas can be submitted as an individual, they can be submitted as groups, and they can also be submitted anonymously as well. In terms of submission, it's very much a web-based platform, so you can see that, you know, basically you can put forward an idea as a title, you can put an image up if you wish, you can identify who the submitter is. As I said, you can do it yourself, as a team, or as an anonymous. You can put the description and then any attachments. Now, I'll just call up another example. I'll just show you the web apps. I can get this to show up on my screen just for a second.
Brian, at the moment, your screen is stuck on the profile page.
So I've got an issue with internet, I'd say. Let me just do a quick troubleshoot. My apologies for that. I don't know what's going on from my side here. Let's see whether we can get this fixed up. And still searching, so just a moment.
Just while we're waiting, I'd like to just ask the attendees to raise their hand. If you have worked with anything with an online program before, whether it be Brightidea or I think there's one called Slack, there's a few different ones that people use more like project management tools. Who's used one of those before? Right, no one's raising their hand. So it looks like, Brian, that Brightidea is something very new and different for our audience today.
Yeah, no, that's, well, hopefully, you know, again, when I get this internet back up and running, which hopefully I do now. So
what we can see now is the waiting room slide view, which is what people see at the beginning when you take over the presentation mode.
Okay, because I think it has just kicked me out of the webinar. So just 2 ticks and I will get back into it.
So because you can't see me tap dancing, I shall, and I'm not very good at jokes, but I will explain to everybody that one of the challenge rounds that we've been doing at the moment is with construction waste. And we're finding that, well, we've had quite a flurry of exciting ideas that have come through, particularly from people who aren't involved in the construction industry. And that's what's proven to be quite interesting from our point of view, is to see that just because you're in an industry and you have ideas about what can and can't be done, sometimes when you introduce someone into the mix who doesn't have a background in that particular topic, they'll come up with ideas that are quite valid and very interesting and worth exploring, but hadn't occurred to anybody else because they're too involved in that topic. So, you know, some of the things that have come through on waste construction. Hello, we're back again on your screen, Brian. Oh, we were?
There we go.
There we go.
I think you're back there. Excellent. Yeah, no, and that's a good example, Leanne, in terms of getting ideas from groups that, you know, often wouldn't be asked to submit ideas in that particular topic area. So hopefully I'm back on deck and you should see the idea submission form. Leanne, is that coming up on your screen now?
Yes, could we just have a show of hands? Is that what everybody else is seeing now? Yes. Off we go, Brian.
Excellent. Thank you for that and thank you for your patience. So I was saying before that, yes, you can sort of, you know, basically submit any of these sort of ideas in different ways. You can have the description, the submitter can be yourself or anonymous or as a team. You can put attachments forward, tags and categories and the like. I also flagged before, and hopefully you've got a version of my phone up there at the moment that has got iOS and Android apps. And this is really great in terms of engaging people that aren't sitting behind a computer all the time. And through this, it's got basically the same information as the web version. So it's got the challenge statement, it's got popular ideas, you can view all the ideas. If you wish, you can look at those, you can vote on those ideas, and the like. So it's a very interactive way of engaging people, if you like. The other thing that's really interesting with the apps is the way of actually putting forward ideas. I've just shown you how you can do it on the computer, but through the apps you can actually do voice recordings. You can take a photo. I'll take a photo of the screen probably. I won't go through each of the other ones because it'll be a bit boring. You can type, is the center one there. You can get a photo off the device, and then also you can do drawing as well. So if there was something in particular you were trying to explain, then yes, you can sort of do drawings and submit that drawing with an explanation around it as well. So the apps are quite good in terms of that whole, again, trying to engage people in the process. That out of the way. So that is sort of the extent of where users generally are involved in Brightidea. It's all about putting ideas forward, commenting on ideas, viewing ideas and the like. So that's all great for sort of getting engagement and getting ideas through the front door. From an admin perspective though, where this is sort of really, and again where Brightidea comes into its own, is sort of where it's got the pipeline management and the way to actually manage ideas in the back end. So in this example, we've got a number of different ideas. We've set up a range of different stage gates. This one is extremely simple. You can actually change a lot of these around. You can do it just by moving different sections around if you want to change the process. You can add different steps in there. You can identify what tools you want to use for those steps and what stages. There's a collection, evaluation, selection. But the key thing is that you can actually set this up to be a very simple process, which is shown here, essentially collection, evaluation, selection, implementation, and then with completion at the end. Or you can have extremely complex stage gate processes as well. In terms of how that sort of then works from a, get this loaded up. Let me take a step back. Down the left-hand side here, it's got the command centers, my activity feed, my action items, any messages, my innovations themselves, and then just my subscriptions, so ideas I've subscribed to. So what that means is that it gives me a feel for exactly where things are at. So if I go into Command Center, as an administrator, I get to see where things are at the moment in terms of key program results. So at the moment, we've got 82 unique participants. We've had 4 opportunities created. We haven't got any project value that we've nominated or tracked outcomes, but these are metrics that can actually be managed and monitored all the way through. You can see number of people involved, the ideas. So you can sort of see that over time when you're running multiple activities, you get to see where things are actually up to, so you can track your program. And more importantly, you can actually print these things out so that people can actually then report on where the whole innovation program's up to. If I look at action items, so this is where it's really good to try to engage others in the selection program. So if I go back to the Moore Stephens stages here. What you can do is actually nominate people to do various selections. So if I go in this, I want to edit the step. So with this particular one, I don't have any tools selected, but if I want to actually set up a tool, let's say it was a scorecard, I can save that. I can then assign that to multiple people. So if I assign that to myself, it pops up that I'm a user. I can actually send that through and I can activate it. And so what that then does is actually sends me a message. So if I go into my action items, and I'll want to refresh. Oh, that one there. So I go in and I can basically look at my scorecard. So there's a whole range of different assessment tools. Scorecarding is one of them, and these there's off-the-shelf ones, but they can also then be modified, and you can use whatever scorecard you want. Pairwise is one that I think is really cool. Essentially, what it does, it puts up ideas side by side for an assessor, and they can select which idea they want or neither. So it's just a really easy way for people to make a decision around particular ideas and which ones align best with where the organisation is going. It's got stack ranking, it's got basic ranking. So there's a range of different assessment tools there, which sort of makes it very easy to I suppose, again, and not only, so the first part was about finding ideas. This is really about selecting those ideas that make the most sense for the organisation and being able to engage with management and others in the organisation to select those ideas. I mentioned right at the start when I was going through the slide deck that there's a third area as well, and that's project management. So it's not Microsoft Project by any means, but it does have a basic project management function. So you can see for this particular project, and I haven't added anything in here, but I'm on the team. You can put multiple people on the teams. You can have milestones, you can have to-do lists, you can have documents that are in there. You can have the investment. So with the investment, you can actually nominate people. So you can put in, let's just do people. Oh, I don't have it set up for that. Gotta love that. What you do at the start, which I should have done before, you can set up different resource types. So you can have people, you can put dollar amounts there, you can put other resources in there as well. So you can then effectively track what the investment is to implement that particular project. You can then have projections as well. And so the projections is really set up in terms of what the low result is or high. Doesn't have to be in dollar terms. You can actually have other metrics in there as well. You can track results. And again, the key thing is you can report against all of this as well. But it's really important, and this is where we see a lot of innovation programs fall over. People get all excited about identifying ideas, but then the implementation starts to fall away. The selection process is a bit obscure. And then when it comes to implementation, often, the idea, whether it's a process idea or a product or service idea, is handed over to a group, and no one really knows where it's all up to because often it's not seen as core business. And then if you like, the imperative to implement sort of goes out the door a little bit. So that was my no internet connection. We'll get that back going again. So the whole Brightidea platform is really geared around, helping with management. I flagged a bit earlier on about reporting, and hopefully this is the reporting tab I loaded. Oh no, it wants to go all the way back. I'll just take us back to the front page, seeing as all those other pages had to reload again. So you can sort of see under admin, it's got a metrics dashboard and a business results dashboard. So the metrics dashboard, really, again, this is, you can identify whatever sectors you want to track, so it's got number of web storms, active users, submitted ideas and outcomes. You can view, basically by a whole range of different metrics. So this is all the ideas. I can put in their votes, users, logins and the like. So you can actually set this up so that it basically provides information that's relevant to the management team, which is really important, particularly in terms of reporting back to senior management. It's got the web storm distribution, so it gives a bit of a feel for where things are up to. As you can see, we've got a lot of dummy ones there, but it gives a feel for where things are going there. Popular tags, most active ideas, average days per status can also be tracked. So it's very good in terms of being able to provide metrics out of the overall program. And then this is just a demo business results dashboard as well. Again, picking up on logins, handoffs, projections and outcomes, dollars, other impacts. You can compare it between years and the like as well. So that's the general overview. I suppose in wrapping up, with a lot of our clients, some like using platforms like this. Others we essentially run facilitated programs along similar lines, again using that three-stage process. It really depends on the number of ideas and the number of staff that are going to be involved as to whether a platform like this adds value. The key thing is, though, whether you're interested in a platform like this or not, is really just to have the systems in place to drive outcomes. As I mentioned earlier on, we see a lot of innovation programs fall over after a year and a half, 2 years, mainly because there's a lot of focus on finding ideas. But really the hardest part of innovation is around implementation and getting outcomes, and outcomes that drive value for the organisation, whether it's improving service delivery, whether it's profitability, whether it's differentiation, or whatever the key driver is from the organisation. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Leanne, and I'd love to answer any questions that anyone has.
Thanks, Brian. Of course, the first question that has popped up is, what does it cost? People like to know what kind of investment is required for innovation systems like that.
Yeah, sure, not a problem at all. Look, with Brightidea, we've managed to get so it's a US costing, but it's $1,000 a month per admin license. So it's not for small organisations. So with smaller organisations, as I mentioned, we often run facilitated sessions and facilitated programs. What this is geared towards is basically larger organisations that have, say, a half-time or a full-time innovation person or someone that's responsible for it. And so at the moment we're doing some work with government agencies with this platform because it improves their internal engagement. And then probably more the M side of SMEs. So when there's an organisation with less than about 80 employees, the cost benefit probably isn't really there.
Thanks, Brian. I have another question here from, from Laura. Does that mean any number of people can access, submit ideas and create a profile, but only one administrator?
Yes, that's correct. And this is a change from, I suppose, how they've had previous pricing models, and a lot of other groups, they sort of have pricing around the number of users, and it's a little bit counterintuitive because the whole idea is to try to engage as many people as possible. So this is a per admin license, and so basically if someone's got 3 or 4 admins, well then, they're a larger organisation obviously, which with larger engagement needs, and therefore the price goes up.
Hopefully that answers your question, Laura. Another question we have is, how long does a challenge go for?
Yeah, it depends on the organisation. We generally try to keep challenges down to about 2.5 weeks, mainly because when you're going out to staff, the whole point is to get them really focused in on ideas. When you start expanding it out, generally nothing happens for the first couple of weeks. Oh, sorry, I'll put this another way. Things happen in about the first half week when people first see it, and then nothing happens for the next week and a half, and then there's a flurry of activity at the end. So we sort of suggest, and again, whether it's Brightidea or other facilitated sessions, that the ideation side of things is very sharp and short and directed and facilitated as well. Again, this is a management platform. It doesn't make groups innovative. So when we do this, we essentially, we drive a lot of communications with staff. For some work we're about to do with Queensland government agency, we're planning on doing a short video. When I say short, I'm talking 2 to 3 minute type video, explaining the process, explaining how people can get involved, explaining how to navigate around the overall program. Pardon me. Because the whole focus is on getting people up to speed quickly, getting them comfortable with the platform, getting their ideas in, and then the assessment process can generally take 2 to 3 weeks after that, but have the ideation side fairly focused.
Thanks, Brian. Glenn's question is this only suitable for in-house innovation, or can it be opened up to the public?
So it can be opened up to the public, so it depends on how the organisation wants to run it. So it can be an in-house program, but you might have challenges where you're wanting externals. So it comes back down to how you want to operate the innovation program.
Okay, and Kylie would like to know about support. Is Brightidea's support continuous?
Yeah, so Brightidea, so it's a US-based organisation. They've got the usual, software support. We're often engaged by groups to provide the upfront support to get the whole thing up and running. And then we also run innovation as a service, so we actually, work with organisations and run their innovation program for them. But yeah, so there's continuous support, but ultimately the idea is that with Brightidea, it's a platform that helps the innovation teams manage this themselves. So ultimately, the end game is to have this handed over so that it's being run internally.
And another question we have from Kylie. Is running the innovation program, does it incur additional costs to the monthly administrator fee?
Yes, it does. So look, the administrative fee is basically software access and the Brightidea general support. If we're getting involved in actually setting up the innovation program and doing the initial running, then we generally, work out a scope and what that's going to entail. It really depends on the organisation, and I suppose whether they've got an innovation program already up and running and they've got that fully supported, whether there's value in us being involved in that upfront or not.
Okay, just looking here, I don't have any other further questions coming through, but we might just do a last call for questions. If we have anybody who would still like to type in a question, let us know what they're thinking. Success rates. What are the success rates following use of Brightidea? I certainly know the big guys talk about their very big success rates that they have.
No, that's it. And look, it depends on the organisation. Just quickly see if I can call up there's some case studies which can actually give you some figures. But yeah, no, look, there's organisations that they've been using this platform for an extended period of time. Let's go.
And I think too, success is somewhat subjective, because for some people success is implementation stage. For other people, depending on what their configuration is, success might be that they had staff engagement.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, Leanne. It depends on what people are trying to achieve. So it's Kraft, Procter & Gamble, you know, for theirs, 1,900 plus ideas, 9,000 votes and 13 campaigns. So that was obviously a big focus for them. And it depends on, again, yeah, what they're trying to track. It's another Procter & Gamble one. Let's just see what other ones we've got here. Kraft had 100 plus participants for this one. This was reducing produce and packaged cream cheese queues for salads. So again, they were sort of looking for a particular product area. Other ones, again, sort of really looking at, you know, this got realised cost savings, new products, improved processes. Harley-Davidson adopted 400 plus out of the 500 plus submitted ideas within 3 years. So again, it's, you know, the platform itself doesn't drive innovation, but what it does do, it allows engagement and for an organisation to actually drive the whole process a lot more efficiently and effectively.
Thanks, Brian. Final call for questions. Anyone further looking for some ideas or some more indication about what's involved with Brightidea going through Impact Innovation Group? No, I think that's it, Brian. I think you must have answered all the questions that people might have had. Anything further you'd like to share with our viewers this afternoon?
No, look, that's it. And look, I understand this is, you know, comes across a bit of a product plug, but it was more that we were getting a fair bit of interest in, I suppose, what this management system concept was actually about, and that's why we thought we'd run this webinar. Because at the end of the day, you know, whether groups use Brightidea or whether they have their own systems, the critical thing is to have a system in place that really works. Because otherwise to try to get outcomes, it's very, very difficult. So I hope it's been of use. If down the track you do have any other questions, please feel free to touch base with us, and yeah, we can provide any additional information.
Thanks, Brian, and thanks to everybody who tuned into the webinar. Oh, looks like I've got one last, just people saying yes, thank you very much for today's webinar. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and look, there will be a recording of this emailed to you, or a link to it emailed to you within a couple of days, and certainly you can then let people know that the Brightidea webinar is available for people who missed it. And if you have any other inquiries about Impact Innovation Group, please visit the website impactinnovationgroup.com, where you'll find all the contact details for Brian directly and the other members of the Impact Innovation team. Thanks again, everyone. Bye for now.